Und jetzt bitte in eine bequemere Position. So dass ihr theoretisch die Griffe loslassen könnt. Okay. So müsst ihr ankommen vorne. Okay? Ready? Up.
Ladies and gents, hello and a very warm welcome back to the Aram training channel. Last week I published a video on Lauren Henry. You know you're not going to be able to brace enough, so you don't even extend the lats 100%. You'll let this be done by the energy that goes back through the body and her almost perfect rowing technique. And one thing stands out for me still, this is amazing. Look at that structure where she goes into the catch and she manages to lengthen out the lats. This is where she gets the stretch. So the energy goes into the lats, into the torso. Cannot be any better. One more drive and at the catch, watch out. Now, instead of tightening up and overbracing, she actually becomes longer right here. It looks like the shoulders are going up, but only insofar as it makes sense to extend the latissimus. And her hands are as high as the shoulders are. Well, but that's the most natural way. This is where the hands should be. Welcome to a video on what is the perfect handle height for rowing. So a couple of weeks before I even looked at the Lauren Henry video, we did a drill with my two Masters women athletes in the double on the new Danube in Vienna. By the way, I've been coaching these two ladies now for 4 years. They are in their late 30s, early 40s. And for 4 years, they have medaled consistently at the Austrian Open category nationals in the women's double. They're quite special. With this drill, I'm trying to coach them to completely relax. You will see Milta here in bow, almost removing her hands from the oar handle now. So she really has no weight on the handles. And I'm going to ask them, push with your legs and allow your lats to become long. Receive the resistance with your back. It's not so easy because we always feel the urge to be braced and ready. Let's listen into what I'm telling them.
So dass ihr theoretisch die Griffe loslassen könnt.
So that you can let go of the oar handles.
Okay. Das ist das Wichtige.
That's
So müsst
important.
ihr ankommen vorne.
This is how you should arrive at the catch with that kind of looseness.
Ready? Up.
And you see, it took them a bit of bracing. No bracing. So it is very difficult to learn, but it's absolutely effective. And you probably saw this, the handle heights are pretty high. In one of the next rigging sessions, we're probably going to rig that double a bit higher. So there's a bit more space. But the important bit here is to really relax the shoulders. What I personally let happen is that I let my shoulders go forward as much as they want. But I try to keep the shoulder package low, tucked into the torso. I will show you on the bar rower just in a second what I mean. Just look at them go once more. And here we are. Now when the drive starts, you see, it's immediate, especially with stroke. When bow, it's a bit difficult because there is no rhythm to follow. But look at Laura here in stroke. You see, she's going from legs straight through the pre-stretched lats, and the lat merges right here with the red stripe of her rowing suit is. So with the leg drive, there's immediate lock on the water. And now it's legs to torso, legs to torso, legs to torso, and collecting the boat with the torso. Look how stable this is on the exit. I mean, that's the first stroke. It's really good. And the important bit here is as well, can you look at the blade and look at the top edge of it? So I see that the top edge of the blade is actually peeking out a little. Can you see that? Here and also here. The top edge of the blade is peeking out. If you don't apply any vertical force on the handles, the top edges of the blades will naturally peek out a little bit. And the moment you start to apply force, watch what happens with the two blades. See that? This is exactly where they should be. Not any deeper than necessary. See, this is where they are for the entire drive. There's almost no slip. It's really, really, really good. Although this is the first stroke where you usually have tons of slip. And for that, there's very little. So there are two things that need to work together. The first thing is the boat needs to be set properly. That means if you have your blades floating in the water with the top edge just peeking out, The hands should be at least as high as they are with both of them, ideally a bit higher. I think this boat is still rigged too low. We will very likely rig it a bit higher. The moment you start the drive, you have to make sure that you're going through the suspended, not necessarily loose, it's a firm suspended, through a firmly suspended lat. Your legs send the energy. You don't see this from the side, but there's no straight pull. It's a perpendicular pull. So the hands are coming together. This is something you can only train in a rowing environment. You cannot do this on an erg. On an erg, you'd be tempted to lift up the torso. But see, the load on the back in a true rowing environment isn't as much as it is on a linear drive rowing machine. So, of course, you can have the shoulders fairly long without getting injured. And here you see, this is what I'm looking for, that immediate force transfer. It's my Saturday class. By the way, you can join if you want to, aramtraining.com. So my Saturday group, this is what we worked on when I said, think of a train. A locomotive pulls into a train station with a large cargo train, comes to full halt. The last car will not move when the locomotive starts to pull out again until all the train couplings have lengthened out. In our language, the last car is the boat. And the locomotive, that's the legs. So what I want is that there's no slip on the blade, so I want to avoid vertical motion as much as possible. And then I want to make sure that all the couplings here within the body are firmly lengthened out. So when my locomotive starts to push or pull the legs, there's an immediate force transfer. So I want to go through the big muscles. You can see this very well with both of them here. And this is how you effectively use legs to torso. These two have come a very long way. When we started to work together, their technique was as different as it possibly could be. But they're extremely ambitious. They train about 5 to 6 sessions a week, very disciplined. And I mean, they get kids and jobs and all of that, but they still are some of Austria's fastest rowers, and they're just masters. They're doing this for fun. We're not talking about 10 to 12 training sessions a week. Let's look at the bi rower, where your hands should be, because they are higher than you think. The perfect handle height depends on the blade and the boat, so we just explained that. But the body factor is even more important than that, because you cannot really transfer a lot of force when you're too low. So imagine you row like that. Of course it's ineffective, but the question is, when does it start to be effective? Is this a better height than that? How do you know? Or is this better than that? The answer is how your body's built. So if you see your hands as hooks of the big transfer muscle in the body, which is the latissimus dorsi, it attaches about here, so this should be a straight line. And then the lat goes around the back. It actually merges at the bottom tip of your shoulder blades. So my hands should be at about that height. And that's important. It's a different understanding. If you understand the stroke to be something where you try to push and use the upper body, swing and then pull, then it's never obvious that there is actually not much of an arm pull in rowing. Otherwise, rower would have triceps and biceps that would be humongous, but we don't. Rowers are pretty much all legs and core. So we are here, and the idea is to bypass the shoulders to go through the bottom part. This is exactly what you saw with Lauren Henry. It's identical. So the idea here is that you find the position. There's an easy test you can do for yourself. I cannot really demonstrate it, but I explain. You know these wall bars, usually made of wood. It's like a ladder, but much smaller gaps in between. And there's a good test. So you make somebody sit on the floor in front of that wall bar, grab one of the bars about a shoulder height. That's actually pretty low for this kind of test. And then ask them to lift their butt off just an inch, so 2.5 centimeters. It's easy to lift it off completely, but it's very difficult to lift it off just a tiny bit. But the lift off for this kind of exercise is important because you need to be suspended for that. And you will find the higher you are, the easier it is to be suspended. I've never seen anybody try to do a wall bar test as low as that. This explains a lot about how the body is wired. Now the question is, how do you know whether or not you actually have your perfect height of pulling? Because even here, there's a bit of variability. If you look at the force curves, so the bottom curves, the green one for the left side and the red one for the right side, what is always visible is when people roll on a bi rower and they are not at their perfect height of pulling, then you will see the hands go up. You see it visually, of course, but you also see it in the curves. You have a little bit of a dip before the curve actually starts. Now, I've been rowing the bi rower for 25 years. I'm so conditioned not to have this little dip that I have to fake it quite badly, but I just want to show you what these curves look like. So if you're not at the right height and you start to drive, so you send a lot of energy through the body, and then you start to push, and then your hands, of course, they find the right height. They find the right height, and so naturally you want to be where it's most effective. So if they have to go from here to here while you're pushing, then you have a little pre-curve. Let me fake it. This is what it looks like. And this is just because you add vertical motion, necessary vertical motion because you need to get to the optimum height, to horizontal motion. Now the bi rower is designed so that it only picks up what is actually relevant for the boat. For the boat, relevant is horizontal work. So it means being suspended and pulling. That's the thing. If you do this properly, your curves go up immediately. In the boat, if you are simply afraid to have the blades off the water, of course, at the beginning you rig it low. So you're going to row around that part right here, but you can really move the boat quite a bit. And then when you really start to push hard for the first time, your hands want to go up here. So of course your blade's going to go deeper than they should. So now you have this excessive slip on the blade, as we saw with the Danish single sculler who raced against Henry. How to avoid this? Condition your body that you really want to go up to the catch to find the perfect handle height. So before you even start, you reach. Before you start, you go forward, up, and have your hands at the right height. And this is, by the way, another reason why having the blades off the water is not just a thing of beauty, but it's essential. If you want to be a proficient rower, you have to be comfortable having the blades off the water to be able to go into the catch and have your blades off the water now, so there is enough space for you to raise your arms. That raising of your arms into the catch is very important because it actually should stretch your lats. You need this to get the suspension. If you have to dip and then start the leg drive and then go up, that's super ineffective. You end up with curves like this, multi-stair buildups, because there's so much vertical motion on the handles. Let me show you what a full drive on a bi rower with lots of wiggle looks like. It's like this. You see this? And it only picks up horizontal motion. That means every time your hands go up, you lose resistance. That's what you cannot afford to do. That's the perfect coaching tool. birower.com. 70% of our customers have it at home. Just saying, this can be unstable. If you are a club coach or a team coach or college coach, you can turn this into a double or a quad, or into a single sweep rower, a pair, a 4 or an 8, and then it slides together and tilts together. Actually, the next video I'm recording right after this one is going to be for the bi rower channel, where I show how I convert this to a sweep rowing device with the original sweep rowing spread, because it's adjustable. So it's the perfect device for teaching your athletes how to row effectively. Not just do this, but to make them understand things they cannot understand in the boat. birower.com. It's the world's best rowing machine. Ladies and gents, if that video was interesting, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already done so. It means a lot to me. It helps me to grow the channel. If you want to work with me, go to aramtraining.com. If you're not sure what kind of package to choose and what to do, send me a message. My email address is info@aramtraining.com. And you find all the information on the Saturday group classes, on the one-on-one packages, on the training plans I write, and on the camps for next year on aramtraining.com. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.